Chaque matin, je me surprends à me demander si l'équipe actuelle de la Maison-Blanche pourrait se comporter encore plus mal ou commettre des méfaits plus choquants. Je me demande également si la performance de Karoline Leavitt pourrait devenir encore plus décevante. Pourtant, jour après jour, mes attentes sont anéanties. Aujourd'hui a été particulièrement stupéfiant lorsque nous avons repéré cet article stupéfiant dans The Atlantic montrant que l'administration a avoué avoir expulsé à tort un résident légal du sol américain. Comme vous pouvez l'imaginer, Karoline Leavitt s'est complètement effondrée en essayant de justifier cette décision consternante. Mais attendez, ce n'est pas tout. Elle a également fait face à des questions difficiles de Peter Ducey, oui, ce reporter de Fox concernant les politiques financières défaillantes de l'administration. Nous examinerons tout cela, mais d'abord j'aimerais que vous donniez un pouce vers le haut à cette vidéo. Et si notre chaîne vous apporte de la valeur et que vous ne l'avez pas encore fait, cliquez sur ce bouton d'abonnement, nous aide vraiment. Maintenant, regardons le premier effondrement public de Leavitt.
Just changing subjects for 1 second. The administration has expressed a complete confidence in how all the deportation flights to El Salvador were conducted. But now that the administration has conceded that there was an error of one Salvadoran national, will there be any reviews conducted? And does the president express any thoughts on the one error that was disclosed in court last night?
Well, first of all, the error that you are referring to was a clerical error. It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang. That is fact number one. Fact number two, we also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking.
Je n'arrive pas à croire qu'elle qualifie cela de simple erreur. Comment Karoline Leavitt peut-elle se tenir là et prétendre que ses propres collègues de l'administration se trompent concernant l'expulsion illégale de cette personne? Cela n'a aucun sens. Les excuses qu'elle essaie de construire plus tard dans la conférence de presse vous retourneront l'estomac quand elle commence à remettre en question le caractère de cet homme sans avoir de faits concrets. Son seul travail est d'être le porte-parole et la personne qui dit toujours oui à l'administration, ce qu'elle continue de faire ici sans la moindre preuve pour étayer ses affirmations. Elle invente simplement des choses sur le moment pour défendre l'indéfendable.
Questions about this deportation case. First, I wanted to clarify something that you said to Jeff a few minutes ago. You said you'd seen evidence that this man was a convicted gang member. In what court was he convicted and for what?
This individual was an MS-13 ringleader. This individual was also engaged in human trafficking. And I'm glad you brought up this point again, because I would like to point out that if you just saw the headline from the insane, failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth. They didn't even mention in the title of that article, or even in the first paragraph, that this individual is an illegal criminal who broke our nation's immigration laws. He is a leader in the brutal MS-13 gang, and he is involved in human trafficking, and now MS-13 is a designated foreign terrorist organization. Foreign terrorists have no legal protections in the United States of America, and this administration is going to continue to deport foreign terrorists and illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
But a judge...
Mais attendez, que sait réellement Karoline Leavitt sur le type de père qu'est cet homme? Que sait-elle vraiment sur quoi que ce soit? Je me souviens de son premier jour de travail quand elle s'est vantée « Je n'ai pas besoin de classeur, j'ai tout ce qu'il faut là-haut ». Pourtant depuis ce moment il ne s'est pas passé grand-chose dans sa tête à part de la haine, de la fureur et du ressentiment amer. Toute la situation est simplement tellement troublante. Elle est vraiment terrible à son poste. Elle ne sait pas mentir de façon convaincante, elle échoue à distraire les gens, elle est incapable de rediriger l'attention et elle ne peut même pas fournir des réponses claires comme lorsqu'elle a été interrogée sur les tarifs douaniers dans cet extrait.
Caroline.
Sure.
Caroline,
Sure.
The president said over the weekend that he couldn't care less if prices went up on foreign cars because people buy more American cars. There's been consensus from a lot of economists that these tariffs could raise prices on other goods as well. Is the president comfortable with Americans on Main Street paying more because of these tariffs?
The president is doing everything he can, and this entire administration is doing everything we can to bring down the cost of living in this country. An inflation mess that was fueled by the previous administration's reckless spending, over burdensome regulations that this administration is focused on slashing every single day. I just read you a statistic just from the Environmental Protective Agency alone. We're saving taxpayers money that's ultimately going to drive down inflation, and we're unleashing the might of our energy industry, which will bring down prices as well. To the heart of your question, because this is very important to the American people, you should trust what this president did for you in his first term. He effectively utilized tariffs while driving down inflation. It was a record low 1.4% when he left office, and he's focused on getting back to that. It's unfortunate the previous administration left us in this mess.
Donald Trump lui-même l'a admis, il n'y a rien que Karoline Leavitt puisse dire pour le défendre, il ne s'inquiète pas de la hausse des coûts, il ne se soucie pas de la souffrance des Américains. Il se moque qu'il soit actuellement engagé dans la bataille commerciale la plus inutile que nous ayons jamais vue, rien de tout cela ne le dérange, et honnêtement devrions-nous être surpris, pas grand-chose ne semble le troubler ces jours-ci. Mais les choses sont devenues si mauvaises que même Fox News demande maintenant quand il réalisera qu'il ne fait pas seulement du mal aux citoyens ordinaires, mais aussi aux partisans même qui l'ont mis au pouvoir. C'est exactement ce que Peter Doocy a soulevé dans ce segment.
Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. When the president goes down to Florida on the weekends, does he ever hear from, there are so many retired folks down in Florida, does he ever hear from any retired Americans who are stressed about these wild swings in the stock market because of the tariff uncertainty, and they're sitting there on fixed income or living off a 401k, and they don't know how much money's going to be left?
Well, certainly they are legitimate concerns, and the president takes those concerns very seriously, and he's addressing them every single day. And tomorrow's announcement is to protect future generations of the senior citizens you mentioned. It's for their kids and their grandkids to ensure that there are jobs here in the United States of America for their children to live the American dream, just like they presumably did. And as for their worries about their 401ks, their Social Security, I just addressed Social Security. This president is always going to protect it for our tax-paying senior citizens. As for their 401ks, look at what President Trump did for you in his first term. He is working on implementing that economic formula every single day by lowering inflation, lowering energy prices, massive deregulatory efforts, while simultaneously effectively implementing tariffs, and they'll hear more about that announcement tomorrow.
And you said that the
Quand Peter Doocy commence à questionner pourquoi ce leadership apporte tant de problèmes financiers aux gens ordinaires, vous savez que nous avons touché le fond. Peter Doocy. Pouvez-vous y croire? Nous en sommes arrivés à un point où même Fox défie l'administration. Mais c'est notre réalité maintenant. L'économie est en ruine et nous nous noyons dans les mensonges, et naturellement nous avons vu J.D. Vance hier soir lancer des tweets contre Jon Favreau de Pod Save America, essayant de se sortir de cette révoltante expulsion illégale. J.D. a dû continuer à supprimer ses publications parce qu'il ne pouvait pas s'empêcher de diffuser de fausses informations que Karoline Leavitt a ensuite tenté de nettoyer dans cet extrait.
Everyone who has been involved in these operations is focused on eradicating these criminals and terrorists from our communities.
The Vice President said he was a convicted member of MS-13. What evidence is there to back that up?
There's a lot of evidence, and the Department of Homeland Security and ICE have that evidence, and I saw it this morning.
S'il y a tant de preuves, alors où sont-elles? Montrez-nous, où sont ces supposés faits que vous ne cessez de mentionner? Parce que vous refusez de les présenter. Vous ne voulez même pas nommer les personnes impliquées. Cela a été le schéma depuis le début opéré par la peur et l'intimidation, gardant tout caché dans l'ombre. Ils ne veulent pas que quiconque voie ce qui se passe réellement parce qu'ils savent qu'ils violent la loi. Et quand ils font finalement face aux conséquences, c'est à ce moment qu'ils perdent vraiment les pédales.
This administration is going to continue to deport foreign terrorists and illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
But a judge ordered that he should remain in this country. So are you saying that it is okay to ignore a judge's ruling if you don't like it?
Who does that judge work for?
He's an immigration
It was an
judge.
immigration judge who works for the Department of Justice at the direction of the Attorney General of the United States, whose name is Pam Bondi, who has committed to eradicating MS-13 from our nation's interior. And let me
Voici l'argument que l'administration Trump continue de pousser, que les soi-disant juges militants prennent des décisions depuis leur siège. Ils prétendent que les tribunaux sont injustes. Pourtant Donald Trump détient le record du plus grand nombre d'injonctions contre un président. Vous êtes-vous déjà demandé pourquoi? Peut-être est-ce parce qu'il enfreint constamment la loi. Les appels à la destitution sont absurdes. Et pourtant nous y sommes. C'est pourquoi aujourd'hui nous avons vu Jamie Raskin interroger Newt Gingrich, qui pour une raison quelconque, comparaissait devant une commission de la Chambre au sujet de ces tentatives incessantes de destitution.
From California essentially invited us to accept the deportation of someone from America without any due process at all, which the administration has admitted was a mistake because now he's hypothesizing that person belongs to a different criminal gang and engaged in other different hypothetical crimes. And obviously, the reason why we have due process is because we can't try these cases in the Judiciary Committee of the House of Representatives, but just reading from a court document here, Plaintiff Abrego Garcia is not a member of, nor has any affiliation with Tren de Aragua, MS-13, or any other criminal or street gang. Although he's been accused of general gang affiliation, the U.S. government has never produced any evidence to support this unfounded accusation. He has no criminal history. He's never been charged or convicted of any criminal charges in the United States. So who knows? That's why we have due process. This shouldn't be just fodder for cable TV. We're talking about people's lives here. Professor Shaw, what does due process actually mean? And should Judge Boasberg be impeached for saying that the Alien Enemy Act of 1798 doesn't apply because we are not at war and we have not suffered an invasion by a foreign power?
You know, the core components of due process are straightforward, right? And it involves some notice and an opportunity to be heard, right, to make some sort of case in your own defense prior to deprivation of life, liberty, or property. So that's in the Constitution. Due process applies to every person, not just to citizens. And due process doesn't look identical if we're talking about due process in the context of potential deportation or due process in the context of, you know, a change to your Social Security benefits, right? Due process is deeply context dependent. And all Judge Boasberg has ruled as a preliminary matter in this case is that some sort of process has to be afforded before this potentially irreversible act occurs. Judge Boasberg has not ordered anyone released in the United States, has not objected to the detention of the covered individuals, has simply said provide reasons and an opportunity to respond. And
follow the law, right?
And follow the law. And it seems from public reporting as though there is real reason to believe that errors were made.
My colleagues are calling for the impeachment of Judge Boasberg. Has there ever been a federal district judge, a federal appeals court judge, or a U.S. Supreme Court justice impeached because someone disagrees with the content of their ruling?
We have no tradition of impeaching judges based on the contents of their rulings.
We impeach them for bribery or corruption or habitual drunkenness on the bench. Speaker Gingrich, by the way, do you agree with the Republicans and with Donald Trump and Elon Musk who are calling for the impeachment of these judges? That's a yes or no. Yeah.
I actually agree with Jefferson that impeachment is a cumbersome and difficult process, virtually impossible to achieve, which is why Jefferson...
So you oppose the impeachment?
Which is why Jefferson abolished 14 courts, because you can abolish...
Okay, Professor Shaw, forgive me, you remember the 5-minute rule. I've got no more time. It's a yes or no question, and I didn't get an answer from you. The Chief Justice Roberts has said that the correct response to disagreement with a district court decision is to appeal. I just heard Speaker Gingrich call this a judicial coup d'etat, and he said the Chief Justice should stop lecturing the rest of us. Who's right? Is it Newt Gingrich or is it Chief Justice Roberts here?
In this instance, Chief Justice Roberts.
Le juge en chef Roberts et le soi-disant parti de justice et responsabilité sont tout sauf cela. Il est scandaleux qu'il continue à s'accrocher à cette étiquette tout en faisant exactement le contraire. Mais nous sommes là pour exposer la vérité jour après jour. Si vous êtes d'accord avec cela, assurez-vous de vous abonner, de donner un pouce vers le haut à cette vidéo et si vous avez regardé jusqu'à la fin, laissez un cœur bleu dans les commentaires.